What's up, tribe? How you guys doing? Go ahead and hit that subscribe button. I hope you like this video. We are back. Power Book 2, Season 1, Episode 6. We'll be back from our little Christmas hiatus or winter break, fall break, whatever. Child, I forgot it was coming on. It just hit my VCR. Did I say VCR? DVR. Anyway, we back. So, we start this episode off. We have the two lawyers conspiring. That's where we left off with them figuring out, Method Man and, Uncle Nancy figuring out that, Tariq was really the one that killed Ghost and that they're going to finagle it to get Tasha off, put Tariq in jail. So they meet up to discuss the jury selection and what is the best jury that's going to basically buy the story that they putting down. Now, early on in the jury selection, so then we see them in court and them actually going through the jury selection. Now, early on in the jury selection, things started looking a little interesting. Method Man sort of finagles his way to get a couple of people on the jury that Uncle Nancy doesn't argue with, and even the judge was like, "So you're gonna keep this juror even after that juror said that they feel like drug dealing is justified in some situations. That's who you're gonna keep." And of course, him thinking that him and Method Man have this deal going and there's a method to the madness, no pun intended. He was like, "Nah, we good." So I'm already now side-eyeing Method Man a little bit, thinking maybe this situation isn't as cut and dry as we kind of thought it was, which I didn't really think it was either. I definitely feel like there's some finagling going on with this. I feel like Method Man is playing chess and Uncle Nancy is playing checkers, and we're gonna find out pretty soon. Immediately when Uncle Nancy gets back to his office, the guy from the DNC is all up in his office like, what was that? Like, what kind of jury did you just see? But what's interesting is that Method Man's right-hand man, aka the woman he having an affair with, she feels the same way. So everybody is sort of in the dark about this whole situation, child. Now, in the meantime, in the between time, down to the school, Tariq is actually early for class. Not on time, but early, okay? And then we have this whole debate about good and evil and whether people are inherently born good and evil or you learn to be good or evil. It's Locke versus Hobbes. And this is a debate. I find it interesting that they're doing this as this accelerated college lesson when this is something I did in high school, but okay then. Moving on. Now here's where it gets a little interesting. Now this episode, they still had some stuff in this episode that made me look sideways. However, this whole situation with Method Man versus Uncle Nancy, it is a little interesting. So here's what happened, and I'm gonna just have to give y'all the whole thing at one swoop because I can't drag this out. 2-Bit. Yeah, I remember 2-Bit. 2-Bit is really the last man standing of Tommy's organization, right? Everybody else is either dead or scattered in the wind. But remember, 2-Bit is still in jail. So, and they keep calling that boy by his government name, which is Francis. Child, is hilarious. Now, that's the first witness. That's the first state's witness. So, Uncle Nancy goes down to the courthouse to go visit Mr. 2-Bit. And tells him, "Listen, I got a deal for you." And he was like, "I don't want to make no deal." He was like, "I'm telling you, I got a good deal for you. I just need you to testify, that you were part of Tommy Eaglin's organization." And he's calling Tommy Ghost. No, good and damn well Tommy ain't Ghost, but I guess that's part of the setup. And of course, he's doing what he's supposed to do. Like, "I don't know you. I don't know what you're talking about. I ain't saying nothing." And he was like, "Well, you really need to talk to your lawyer because I really have a good deal for you." He was like, "I don't need no lawyer to tell me nothing. I don't need no deal from you. I'm good." So, Method Man goes to visit him, and he ain't trying to talk to Method Man either. And he was like, "Listen, I'm telling you, you really gonna want to talk to me." He said, "I need you to make me your lawyer so I can talk to you freely." And so he does, and Method Man goes to visit him, and he lets him know. He said, "Listen, if you listen to me and you follow what I'm telling you to do, I can get you out of jail." And he was like, "Whatever, I ain't no snitch." He was like, "I ain't asking you to snitch. Listen, And he was like, well, if you won't listen to me, then maybe you'll listen to I Found a Friend of Yours. So he brings Blanca in. And he's like, oh, hell no, I'm not talking to the cops. And she was like, I ain't a cop no more. I'm suspended, because of Uncle Nancy. And he was like, really? So they finagled this whole situation. And he said, listen, I'm telling you exactly what to say so that you don't have to incriminate yourself. I'm going to give you, we're going to give you the script. Just follow the script. And if you do what I'm telling you to do, you're going to walk up out of here. So he listens. So they go to court. Again, I can't drag this out. I got to give y'all the whole thing at one time. So they end up going to court and he's testifying. And of course, Tasha sees him. And they asked Tasha if she knows who he is first. And Tasha was like, I don't know him. I don't know this dude. I don't know him. And they said, 2-Bit. And she was like, oh, 2-Bit. Because of course they were calling him Francis. She was like, I don't know no Francis. She was like, 2-Bit. She was like, I mean, he worked for Tommy, but me and him never had any deep interactions. And they were like, oh, okay, well, just look innocent tomorrow, right? So she calls Tariq when she gets back to her cell, and she was like, yo, Tariq, what's, like, does 2-Bit know anything? Like, because they going to call him to the stand, and they were asking me all these questions, and I'm just trying to figure out, what's up. And Tariq was like, nah, I mean, I know him, working for Uncle Tommy and everything, but nah, like, I don't think he's going to say nothing that's going to, get us caught up. And she was like, oh, okay, cool. So they get to court, and he's on the witness stand testifying, of course, and Uncle Nancy trying to ask him these questions that they had agreed to. Oh, let me rewind a little bit more. Uncle Nancy goes to the DNC dude and gets him to make the deal. So he gets him to make the deal to get him out of, that if he agrees to testify, he walks. So he testifies, but he don't tell them nothing. He was like, asking him questions about who Ghost was and did he work for Ghost. He was like, I don't know who that is. I don't know this person. He even showed him a picture of Tommy, and he was like, yo, I don't know him. Never, nope, don't know nothing about him. And he was like, that you did agree, your deal is not good if you don't, testify. He said, He said, you gave me transactional immunity, meaning all I had to do was show up and answer the questions to the best of my ability, and that is what I'm doing. You can't compel me to say something that I don't know, and you can't throw my deal out because I'm not saying what you want to hear. I said, ooh, they done set him up good. So then it's this thing with him having Ghost watch. Now remember when they robbed Truth last season and they set up the robbery? He kept Ghost Rolex. And so they were making that connection that he did know Ghost or St. Patrick, excuse me. And he was like, he's like, no, I got this from Tariq, his son. And he was like, oh, so you know Tariq. And so now Tasha is sitting there like, Tariq? How the fuck Tariq name? How Tariq name come up in all of this? But he said that he only knew Tariq because he gave him a ride home one night. From somewhere. Somehow he said Tariq needed a ride home. He gave him a ride home. And I guess that's his way of explaining how he got to watch. So, of course, Tasha is sitting there looking crazy. But he was like, well, do you know, Method Man was asking him, well, do you know my client? He was like, yeah, I don't know nothing about your client. Like, all I know, is that she was the wife of, St. Patrick. I don't know nothing about her. Well, you never heard anything about her being a queen pin? He was like, nah. She wasn't no queen pin. If she was a queen pin, I would know. Only thing I know about her is being a housewife. Like, I don't know nothing about her. So it made Tasha look good. It didn't necessarily throw Tariq under the bus, but Tariq's name came up. So, so then Tasha called Tariq back after the fact and was like, yo, what do you know about, 2-Bit or whatever? Like, your name came up. He was like, what my name come up for? She said, I don't know. She said, I mean, the testimony did make me look good, but I still don't know why my name came up. So anyway, that's what that was. Now that was the best part of the day. Well, that was the second best part of the whole episode, okay? Because that's a whole, like I said, that's a whole chess game that Method Man is playing. I just ain't figured out his next move yet. I haven't figured out if he really truly turned on Tariq or if he's trying to get both of them off. That's the part I ain't figured out. Now, back down to the drug dealer house. We got Mary J. Blige trying to play tough love with her daughter and son. She said, ever since y'all been hanging out down at that college, y'all done got soft. Y'all not paying attention. You down there, worrying about your love life and everything. And so she tells Drew and the daughter, y'all coming with me today. I'm gonna make y'all do some real work because y'all spoiled and y'all not appreciative of what's going on around here. So Kane was like, you want me to go, mama? And she was like, nah, we got this. You know, we gonna do some work. You just chill out. Well, when the mama threw out the statement about worrying about your love life, he automatically assumed that it was her and that she was sleeping with Tariq. Never occurred to him that it was the brother, and the brother was down there getting it in with the basketball team, right? So he asked her, like, you sleeping with Tariq? And she was like, I'm not sleeping with Tariq. She said, I'm not the one. And she kind of looked at Drew like, you gonna clear this up? But Drew wouldn't say nothing. Drew was just like, So she looking at Drew like, for real? You gonna let him think that I'm sleeping with Tariq? Knowing well that he crazy as hell. But it don't matter. They left up out of there. And you know, as soon as they left, Kane picked up his gun and rolled out because he ready to go confront Tariq, child. We'll get to the Lord. Now that we're going to get to. Now, Tariq, though, went to go see Lauren. And, you know, they went to go, you know, they were talking or whatever. Lauren's boyfriend shows up and he tells her, he was like, what are these pictures of you on, you know, and of course Tariq is sitting there. And he's talking to her like she's his child or something, talking about, you know, you can't have pictures of you online getting drunk. You know you better than this. He's like, you know what, you're losing focus. Maybe we need to bring you down to Georgetown with me. And, of course, once he says that, Tariq, you know, clears his throat like, yo, I'm in here. And he's looking at Tariq like, you know, what are you doing here? And Tariq was like, she left something after class. I just came to bring it back to her. Because he's talking about something, what are you, tutoring him in math or something? Because, of course, it has to be that Tariq is dumb or something like that, you know. So Mary J. Blige takes Drew and the daughter. She takes them down to, you know, one of their little workhouses. The girl gonna count the money. Drew gonna break the drugs up and package up the drugs or whatever. And he sees the packaging that they've been selling to Tariq with it got like a little hourglass on it. That's important later. But while they're down there, she takes their phones from them, but she doesn't take the phone with her. She leaves the phone in the room with them. I don't know if that was like, you know, a setup, if that was a test to see what they was going to do. But my thing was, what's the purpose of taking the phone out their hand if you going to still leave the phone in the room with them? They going to check their phone. They going to look at their phone. They going to use their phone. That was stupid. But either way, so Malcolm ends up texting Drew. Now, Malcolm is the dude from the basketball team that played him to the left at the party. So Drew keeps checking his phone. And of course he ends up leaving because he wants to talk. You know, Malcolm keeps hitting him up. You know, it's time for us to talk. Let's talk. We need to talk. Let's talk. And the daughter says, like, you don't need to leave. Like, Drew, don't do this. You know mama gonna be pissed. You know what mama said. And he was like, whatever. Mama, I gotta go check on my man. So he ends up leaving her there. And of course, when Mary J. Blige shows up, she's pissed. And, you know, she says, well, I know where he went. Let me go get him. And that's her excuse, of course, now to go up to the school. Okay, so she went to go chase after Drew. Now, Uncle Nancy done met up with his crazy niece. And he's telling her, listen, I appreciate everything that you've done, but I need you to stay away. Things is getting heated. Tariq is into some bad stuff. I don't want you to get caught up in no mess if and when the shit goes down. And she was like, whatever. He's my boyfriend. I'm not staying away. Not Tariq, but Tariq's boyfriend. Braden. Is it Braden? Braden. Anyway. And he was like, but I'm not, you know, I'm not going to stop going down there. And he was like, you know I'm the one that got you into all of this. And he was like, yeah, absolutely. You're the one that got me into all of this. And he was like, well, I know I got you into all of this, but I really need you to stay away. And she tells him, yeah, that's not going to happen, right? That's my boyfriend. I'm not going to stop hanging out over there. All right. Now back down to the dorm room. Braden and Trace, the brothers, they're, you know, he says, listen, where are my drugs? Like, you just came in here and you just took my drugs. I know it was you. Nobody else could have been in here. Nobody else knew about the little secret area. And he was like, what are you talking about? What's mine is yours, what's yours is mine. He was like, listen, you either need to bring me my shit back or you need to pay me. Like, this isn't a game. He was like, whatever, you know. So, of course, they get to fighting because, you know, it's big brother, little brother. They get to fighting. And they come, and who comes walking up in the door while they rolling around on the floor fighting? Kane, looking for Tariq. And, of course, the older brother who's an asshole, you know, he says something to Kane, about him being from the ghetto or something like that. And of course, immediately Kane brings the gun out, puts it to him, and was like, "Yo, what you say?" And Braden was like, "Listen, dude, Kane, I know who you are. Like, me and Tariq, we partners. Like," and so of course now Kane is looking at him like, "What? You know my name, you know my business. Tariq told you what?" And so he was like, "Listen, about the money, give me a minute. I'm gonna run down here to the bank. I'm gonna bring you your money." He said, "So wait a minute. You mean to tell me you know my name, you know my business, and you don't have my money?" He was like, "Listen, let's go. Leave your cell phones here and let's go." And on his way out the door, Braden ends up messing up the chessboard, which of course, remember, him and Tariq had set up the chessboard. So that was like his signal to Tariq, and he puts his cell phone right there. Now I'm going to go ahead and knock this out the way too, because I don't have the energy to go through all of this. Kane ends up kidnapping the two of them, basically. And he proceeds to make each one of them sell drugs. He drops them off on a street corner in the middle of nowhere with a duffel bag full of drugs, and they are expected to sell them. So, of course, Trace, who, is just a little rich white boy, frat boy, he is out there looking crazy, don't know what he's doing, don't know what to do, whatever. Of course, Braden is, ends up working it out perfectly. He sells all his drugs, he flips it, he makes good with the corner boys and all of that. Because, of course, they wouldn't rob him, right? Of course, they would just let him, he ain't got no gun, no weapon, just a bag full of drugs. And he roll up on some strangers. Really? So, Kane comes back around to pick up Braden. Braden shows him, "Listen, I got mine. Look, I done sold mine." He was like, and of course, Kane was impressed, a little shocked, but impressed. They roll around to go pick up the brother. He out there looking crazy. He rolls up on some dude asking, "Can I use your cell phone?" Wrong dude to roll up on. Him and another dude, they jump him and get ready to steal his drugs. Braden's like, "Yo, that's my brother. I need to go take care of him." He was like, "Yeah, when I walked in on y'all, your brother was whooping your ass." He was like, "Listen, that's my brother. He can whoop my ass, but he's still my brother. I need to go take care of that." So they end up going and rescuing him, and they get back in the car. They on their way back to the campus, I guess. They get pulled over by the police. It's not really the police. It's the police officer that's sleeping with Mary J. Blige. And he's like, "Listen, you really out here doing too much. I'm going to need you to calm down. I'm going to need you to get your life together." And he was like, "What are you talking about? Like, I don't work for you." He was like, "Matter of fact, you work for me." He said, "See, that's where you are mistaken. I don't work for you. We work for your father, and your mother is in charge. That's the problem." He was like, "You out here playing games. You got two white boys in the middle of nowhere selling drugs. You're lucky that all y'all asses ain't on y'all way to jail." So he says, "Listen, you need to go home now. I'll take them back to school." So he takes them back to school, and he basically hits them with the, "Listen, let's just pretend like none of this happened." And of course, the older brother is like, "What the hell you mean?" He was like, "We need to call our mama. We need to call daddy, something, because, like, we got kidnapped." Braden is like, "Don't. You right. None of this ever happened. Shut up. You just shut up." You know what I'm saying? Now, mind you, while this is going on, the girlfriend then showed up at Tariq's room looking for her boyfriend. Tariq is like, "I don't know where he is." And she was like, "You sure you don't know where he is?" And Tariq was like, "I don't know where he is. Like, I don't have no reason to lie." So the girlfriend is at the room going through Tariq's stuff, right? Of course, she's there looking for her boyfriend, but she's sneaking through Tariq's stuff. Tariq walks in on it, and she was like, "Listen, I'm not going through, it's not what it looks like. I'm supposed to be meeting your roommate here, and he's not here." And he was like, she said, "I was just going to leave him a note." He was like, "On my side of the room?" She said, "Listen," he said, "Listen, he's not here." But Tariq sees the clues, but he can't put it all together. And of course, she won't stop talking. And he was like, "Listen, why don't you go on back to your place, and when he gets here, I will tell him you are looking for him." But of course, she thinks that he's off somewhere cheating on her, and so she was like, "I ain't going nowhere." Now, here's the thing. If Tariq really wanted to be an asshole about it, like, dude, you gotta go. Like, we share a room. He not here. I don't want you here. You need to leave. But she refuses to leave, and they actually end up playing chess all damn night. And she's actually pretty good. She actually beat Tariq. And I know Tariq is good. That's hard to do, to beat Tariq in chess. So Um, he actually ends up coming back later on, hours later. And Tariq was like, yo, where have you been? What's going on? And he was like, yo, the crazy ass Kanan. Like, he done came through here. He kidnapped me and my brother. Like, it was crazy. So, um, but he can't talk long because he ends up having to go because the girlfriend now was like, I've been waiting on you for 5 hours. I don't know where you been, but we about to roll up out of here because I have overstayed my welcome. And Tariq was like, yes, you have. Now, Drew and Everett end up hooking up, and they make up. I don't have the energy to go through all that, but they end up making up. And while he's there, Everett gets a package from the Campus Connect, aka Tariq's drug company. And Everett puts it together like, wait a minute, that's the same packaging that I saw that I was bagging up down to the warehouse with my mama. Well, with Drew, with my, trying to do this tough love situation. And he figures out that that's how Tariq is running the drugs. Now, the sister then came up there to come and get him and let him know, listen, mama is looking for you, and mama is not happy about the fact that you have been gone MIA. Okay? And she was he told her about the little Campus Connect situation, so she goes to confront Tariq about it. And that was why the girlfriend was still at the house. I mean, was still at the dorm. So Tariq wouldn't let her in the room, and of course she assumed it was Lauren. And Tariq was like, "Yo, it's not Lauren. Like, just trust me, it's not Lauren. But like, what you want?" And he let her know. Listen, I know. I mean, she let him know. Like, I know this is how you running the drugs, and I'm gonna tell my mama. And he was like, "Well, don't tell your mother." Like, and I don't know why Tariq thought it was gonna be a problem because I think it's a genius idea. I don't know how the hell he's pulling it off. Like, that is clearly. Anyway, I'm not gonna go back down that road. But I think it's actually a pretty damn good idea. But he didn't want her to tell Mary J. Blige, which of course she, as soon as she walked in the door, told Mary J. Blige. And Mary J. Blige was like, so why you telling me this? Like, she was like, that's a smart nigga. You know what I mean? Like, I ain't mad at what he doing. I'm not mad at how he handling it. She said, like, are you sleeping with this dude for real? And she was like, no, I'm not sleeping with him. She was like, is he your first? I'm like, she just said she not. Why don't nobody believe this girl ain't sleeping with this boy? Anyway, Mary J. Blige then told her, listen, forget about Tariq. I'm not sending you back up to that school. You stay out of it from this point forward. He just works for us, and it's going to be what it's going to be. Like, I'm done trying to figure out all the ins and outs. She said, at this point, I know more than I need to know anyway. And I'm thinking the same thing. I'm like, since when does the dealer care how it's being distributed as long as it don't lead back to them? You know what I'm saying? Like, you doing business with Tariq. As long as Tariq got your money on time, why you care how he getting it out there? And I don't know why the daughter thought that Tariq would care either. I mean, that Mary J. Blige would care either. But anyway, so while this is going on, she gets a phone call from the detective. The detective comes by the house and says, listen, Kane is out of control. And she tells him what Kane did that night or whatever. And so she was like, I'll handle it. He was like, really? Are you? Like, really though? Because he is out of control. And I don't think you can handle it. Like, he needs a man. And she was like, well, listen, please understand something. You not his daddy, and you not my man. I'm married to your boss, and that is his daddy, so I will handle it. He was like, all right, I'll tell you what. Don't call me again then. The next time you can't find him, the next time he go rogue, don't call me. Find somebody else to handle that for you. So Kane comes home, and Mary J. Blige confronts him and lets him know, like, listen, you doing too much. Like, you putting us in danger. You out here wilding out, and you doing the most. And he pushes back, and he's like, listen, I don't understand why you doing things the way you doing them. You shutting down our corners. You doing business with Tariq. We don't need Tariq. We don't need to do business with him. We need to go back to the way things was going before. And Mary J. Blige was like, listen, you don't make that decision. She had this bad Louis Vuitton sweatsuit on. That thing was nice. Anyway, but she was like, you don't run nothing around here. You don't tell me how to run this business. I'm in charge. And they end up having an argument and going back and forth. And Kane actually got like real buck with her. And she was like, who the hell you think you talking to? And while this is going on, the brother and sister come down the steps. And the daughter tried to intervene and tried to break them up. And he ended up swinging. And he caught Mary J. Blige in the mouth, knocked her down, right? Now, technically it was an accident. However, you know? And she ended up telling him, she was like, listen, as long as you're living under my house, you're going to follow my rules and you're going to do what I tell you to do. So he tries to help her up and she won't take his hand. And he ends up, leaving out the house. Next thing you know, he goes up to the jail to go visit his father. He tells his father, listen, I don't like the way she's running things. I don't understand the decisions that she's making. She's not listening to me. She's not doing what I'm asking her to do. Actually, now that I think about it, I don't know if that hit was as much of an accident as I think it was. But anyway, neither here nor there. And his father tells him, his father said, listen, bruh, understand something. You work for your mama until I get out of here. She's in charge. What your job is to follow behind her. Learn the business so that when it's your time, you can do it right. So in the meantime and in between time, I'm going to need you to stand down and I'm going to need you to play your position. Capiche? And they was, speaking half English, half Spanish. I think that was to let us know that Kane speaks Spanish, that he, Baby, the daddy got ready to leave, and Kane got ready to leave, and the daddy gave a look to the COs, and the COs gave him the look back. They cornered Kanan. I see I'm calling him Kanan because he reminded me of Kanan. But they cornered Kane, they cut off the cameras, and they beat his ass. It was 3 against 1, and they whooped Kane's ass. Next thing you know, the daddy come back up in the room, and he leans down over Kane, and he says, don't you ever put your hands on my wife again. I said, I know that's right. And that's kind of all we got with this episode. So y'all let me know what y'all think. This episode was actually better. It was still some crazy shit in there, but it was actually better than where we left off, I feel like. Anyway, let me know what y'all think. Drop it in those comments. Peace.